Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Leslie Jouflas with Trading Live Online, and welcome to your Daily 5. And I'd like to thank StockCharts for inviting me back for another segment. And today I'm going to talk about some sell price patterns that I'm seeing in the indexes right now. I'm going to be using the SPX and the S&P 500 E-mini charts to illustrate and show you the patterns that I'm seeing. But these patterns, I think, may lead to a very good buying opportunity at the end of a correction if these patterns turn out to do what they're telling us they may do. So let's start and take a look. Start with this chart. This is the S&P 500 E-mini daily, and this chart is one that I've shown in previous segments, and I believe have some articles on StockCharts.com. They're the parallel trend channels, and what's interesting right now to note with this particular chart and where price is that we had a break of this trend line back in early June, and then you can see we had a decline there and then back up, a test of that trend line, and the price has stayed below it since early June. And these patterns that are forming and almost not quite to the completion point are the completion points are below this trend line, and the price should remain below the trend line for these patterns. So let me walk you through very quickly what these patterns are. I have an A, a B, a C, and a D marked in. And this is a type of a sell pattern. This is where we get a retracement back up from a previous move, and that can represent a selling point. Now, there are a couple of places on here to take note of. If the price were to exceed where this X point is, and move above there, then this might turn into what we call a butterfly pattern. That's when the last leg of this pattern, the C to D, extends beyond the X. And we can find where that extension is by simply taking the length of X to A, and we multiply that by Fibonacci ratio. I use a 1.27 and a 1.618, and I add that to the A point, and that gives where those extensions are coming. Over to the left here, I've written in gap. We've got this really important gap area here that should be a real resistance area for the market. And if we get above this X point and complete that butterfly pattern, that's going to be testing the gap area. So let's go on to the next chart right now. And here I'm scaling down now to a 240-minute chart and showing the butterfly pattern here and how that extension, the X to A, the length of X to A multiplied by the 127 Fibonacci ratio added to A, and that gives us the extension up here. And that you can see very clearly on here is coming right into this gap area. Now, it's also possible that this A, B, C, D can complete and turn down prior to exceeding that X. So what we have to do is just watch for triggers into an entry point into this. So you can use a trend line for that. You can use like a candlestick type of signal. You can use divergences. And speaking of divergences, the RSI that you see down here in the bottom here, it's been holding a bullish area, which is right here and here has been holding. This had a bit of a dip lower than this end here when the market had this correction to the downside. Now, this RSI, if the market turns down, is likely to come down and break these support areas here. The MACD that you see in the lower portion of the chart, this has really not been doing much on the side of showing us any new momentum recently. And I don't have a chart of the advanced decliners, but I did check some advanced decliners this morning, and those also seem to be losing some momentum. So that's definitely something that we want to be keeping an eye on. These particular patterns, if we do see the extension up into this area and a turn to the downside, these patterns many times can precede the larger moves, and that's what might present a very good buying opportunity. If we see moves back down into this area, even as deep as this area, those might present an excellent buying opportunity. We haven't seen a lot of buying opportunities since the lows of March. Now, also scaling down, I'm showing you now the SPX chart, the cash market, and we're scaled down to a 120-minute chart right now, where we can see just the ABCD pattern. This is not the butterfly pattern. It would have to extend above here, but you can see we're very, very close in completing this pattern, just a little bit more up. And I put in where the resistance areas are in the dashed pink line. So that would give you a very good idea. This pattern does not extend to the butterfly and completes here and turns to the downside. This is a good roadmap to follow for that. And again, the RSI, so far we're not making any new momentum highs, and we're getting up into the overbought area with this. And you can see the MACD on here starting to lose some momentum. And then on balance, currently with this high above this high, the on balance volume currently is not making a new high with that. So let's look at a couple of other things. The VIX, I've talked about the VIX before, and here is where the lows were in March, where the VIX made a high, and this was very close to where the 2009 highs were in the VIX, and then we, you can see came down. These are the areas of support for the VIX, and you can see here, this was taken from yesterday, that the VIX is right down the support area. This is inverse to the indexes, so if the VIX moves up, the prices are moving down. So the VIX to me looks very close to starting a movement to the upside. And this is interesting. I put the link in here that you can follow, and this is a pretty simple fear and greed index. When these get to extremes down here, when you have extreme fear, that's usually a good buying point. And opposite on the extreme greed, although the lows are usually better with the extreme fear than the highs, or tops are usually a little bit more difficult with this, but it can be a very good tool to look at. And we really are in a neutral point. So that's making me think that no, we're not going to see the end of the world on a correction, but that if we do see a correction, if these patterns do turn to the downside, that might present us with some very good buying opportunities. And I would be keeping an eye on either the indexes that you watch, or the stocks that you watch as well. So again, here's the link that you can find this, and you'll also find with this chart, you'll find some other fear and greed indexes that they use to calculate this. But this is worth taking a look at every now and then to see what position it's in. So that's it. Those are the 5 charts that I'm looking at currently, and the sell patterns that might lead to very good buy opportunities.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.